I wish I could end this nightmare. I wasn't supposed to hear it. Those words weren't meant for me. They weren't meant for anyone. Just a confession whispered into a phone, floating through the half-open window of the room where my wife thought she was alone. But I heard them. Every single word. And they cracked something deep inside me. I stood frozen in the hallway, holding a cup of coffee that suddenly felt too heavy. Her voice was sharp, low, full of venom. Every day with him is just regret. He drains me, makes me feel small. I can't live like this anymore. I didn't recognize her tone. It wasn't anger. It was disgust. She paused, listening. Then she laughed. A small broken laugh that didn't sound like her at all. No, he doesn't suspect anything. The coffee slipped from my hand, hitting the floor with a soft thud. The cup didn't shatter, but something else did. I backed away quietly, breathing like I was trying not to wake a sleeping beast. My mind raced, trying to convince me I'd misheard, that she wasn't talking about me. But I knew her cadence, her sighs, the way she softened certain words when she was being honest. And she'd never sounded more honest in her life. That night I lay beside her in bed, pretending to be asleep as she scrolled through her phone, the blue light flickering against her face. She smiled faintly at the screen, something she hadn't done for me in months. I wanted to ask who it was. I wanted to snatch the phone away and read every message. But fear kept me still. Not fear of what I might find. Fear of what I already knew. I told myself I'd confront her tomorrow. But tomorrow became the next day and the next. Instead I watched her. How she took longer showers now, how she hummed under her breath when she checked her phone. How she bought new perfume, something floral and sweet, too light for winter. Once she came home late, smelling faintly of whiskey and something masculine. "You're late," I said. She smiled absently, brushing past me. "Work drinks. You wouldn't have enjoyed it." Her tone was casual, rehearsed, like I was a child being soothed after a nightmare. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe everything. But love can make even the ugliest lies sound almost beautiful. One night I followed her. I told her I had a late meeting, kissed her cheek and watched her drive off instead. My car trailed hers from a distance, headlights off when I could manage it. I felt ridiculous, like some jealous cliché in a cheap movie. But every turn she took fed the sickness in my gut. She stopped outside a quiet restaurant downtown. A small place, intimate, candlelit, tucked between closed boutiques. I parked across the street, heart hammering. And then I saw him. Tall, dark hair, confident stride. He opened the door for her, hand brushing the small of her back as she walked in. The gesture was subtle, practiced, familiar. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard it creaked. She laughed at something he said as they took a table near the window. The same laugh that used to be mine. The one she'd given me when we were still something worth smiling about. I watched them for nearly an hour. No kiss. No obvious touch. Just glances that lasted too long, smiles that said more than words ever could. I went home before she did. When she came in, she looked startled to see me awake. "You're up late," she said, shrugging off her coat. "Yeah," I said evenly. "Couldn't sleep." Her eyes flicked toward the table, my untouched dinner, her empty plate waiting. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. I almost told her then. Almost asked her how long it had been going on. But something inside me wanted to wait. I wanted her to hang herself with her own words. The next morning I pretended everything was fine. Kissed her forehead, poured her coffee, smiled when she smiled. She didn't know that I'd already made a plan. A week later, I invited her lover to dinner. She didn't know I knew his name. Didn't know I'd found his business card in her purse 2 nights ago when she was asleep. I called him from a number he wouldn't recognize, introduced myself as a potential client, and set up a meeting. My company was looking for a consultant, I said. It wasn't a total lie, I really did need one. I just didn't expect the candidate to be sleeping with my wife. He arrived early, confident, polished, the kind of man who thinks every room belongs to him. When my wife came home and saw him standing in our kitchen, her face drained of color. "Darling," I said, turning with the calmest smile I'd ever forced. "This is Daniel. He's here for dinner." The silence that followed was electric. Daniel stammered something about coincidence, but I could see it in his eyes, the flicker of fear. My wife laughed, too high, too forced. "This is unexpected." "Oh, I'm full of surprises," I said quietly. We ate in silence. Every sound, the clink of silverware, the scrape of a chair, felt amplified. Halfway through the meal, I leaned back and looked at her. You said you regret it every day with me. Her fork froze midair. Daniel's eyes darted between us. Who told you that? She whispered. You did, I said softly. You told him. I heard you. The color left her face. I stood, walked to the window, staring out at the streetlights glowing through the fog. You said I was a nightmare you wanted to end. So tell me, when does it end? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean it like that. I was angry. Angry enough to crawl into someone else's bed? She flinched. Daniel stood, muttering an apology that didn't belong anywhere near this room. Get out, I said without looking at him. He hesitated, then left. The door closed quietly behind him. The silence that followed was unbearable. She tried to touch my arm, but I pulled away. You ruined everything, she said softly. I turned to her. No, you did. I just finally saw it. She started crying, but it didn't move me. Not anymore. When she finally spoke again, her voice was small. So what happens now? I picked up my jacket, slipped it on. You end your nightmare, I said. And I wake up from mine. I left her standing there, surrounded by the life we'd built. A home filled with echoes of laughter, now empty. Outside, the air was cold, sharp. It stung my lungs but made me feel something I hadn't in months, clarity. Betrayal doesn't always kill love. Sometimes it just drains it quietly, until all that's left is a hollow reflection of what once was. And as I walked away from the house, I realized the real nightmare wasn't her cheating. It was how long I'd let her make me believe I deserved it.